coverage. We begin with the hottest topics on our feeds right now.
And today there really is just one really big hot topic because it is the start of the special session. On the agenda is funding Oregon's transportation system.
Yeah, let's quickly go over how we got here and what's on the table right now. The current proposal from Governor Tina Kotek would raise taxes and fees at the DMV to prevent layoffs at ODOT and to fix Oregon's roads and bridges. It's a slimmer version of the original bill that failed in the regular legislative session with smaller increases.
The governor's transportation advisor says current funding shortfalls could result in fewer snowplows, slower response times, and poorer road quality. A public hearing and work session on the bill is set to start at 2 o'clock this afternoon. This morning on ArcPDX, we were talking to lawmakers from both sides of the aisle.
Joining us now, House Republican Leader Christine Drazan. Christine, thank you so much for joining us. You are going to, yeah, good to have you here because this is something that everybody's thinking about. You're going to join other Republican leaders for a press conference at 10 o'clock this morning to announce your alternative transportation funding proposal. Can you tell us, give us a hint at what we can expect to hear from you?
You know, we have all along been talking about the need to preserve these jobs of the folks that are on the ground, plowing our roads and filling potholes. And that will continue to be our focus. No surprise, our proposal does not increase taxes, but balances the budget by redirecting existing revenues. So just to be really, really clear about this without getting too much in the weeds, right now this department is almost a $7 billion department. None of the past taxes that have been adopted in the past have gone away. They're all still there. Everybody's still paying that gas tax at 40 cents a gallon. And the gas taxes continue to increase over time. What has gone past that, though, is the cost of this department overall. They have really ballooned as a department. And now that means that the governor either wants to raise taxes or she's saying she's going to cut staff. We're suggesting that some of the revenues that this department is choosing not to spend on road workers, that we give them the flexibility to make a different decision and instead take the payroll tax. We all pay the payroll tax. If you're an employee in the state of Oregon, you're paying for busing, you're paying for transit. And so they're talking about doubling this in this proposal, which we oppose. But we'd rather they took some of that payroll tax and had flexibility to be able to balance their budget and prioritize core functions like filling those potholes, striping those highways, and making sure that our roads are plowed in those dangerous winter months. And so our proposal keeps all of the technical fixes that are in this bill and accountability measures, but instead of raising a massive $5.8 billion tax increase over the life of the analysis of this thing, we are suggesting that you make existing revenues available for higher priorities right now, and that we let the agency make the determination about how to balance those budget needs. Right now, they're saying their hands are tied. Lawmakers in Salem in the past told them they have to dedicate that money. And we're suggesting the priority today must be safety. And so the priority of the past, I understand, but the priority today, we need to ask that agency to do more with less. Oregon families are, and it's time that our state budget did the same.
So with Republican leaders, with this proposal that you're going to be presenting today at 10 hours before this session is set to begin, how is that expected to affect the session? How do you think it'll go now that you guys are going to be proposing this?
Yeah, this will be an ongoing conversation on our side. We have proposed alternatives every single step of the way throughout this process to help the agency balance their budget. And we, again, invite our Democrat colleagues across the aisle to consider these proposals as a way to save jobs and protect Oregon family budgets. So we are going to propose it as an amendment in the committee, and we will have the opportunity to make our case and try to persuade our colleagues that there is a better way forward. And the critical features of this bill are included in our amendment, so they're not losing anything but the tax increases, which I believe Oregonians have spoken loud and clear they can't afford right now. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch our hearing on Monday, but out of everyone, almost 3,000 people either, logged in to testify remotely, came to Salem, sat in our hearing room and waited to testify, or submitted something in writing. Of those totals, 93% said, I hate this proposal. Please don't do this to my family budgets. And we had a lot of people that were neutral and that were suggesting alternatives. But The remainder were in support. Now, that number of people that were in support was tiny relative to the number of people that opposed this measure. So we really are hopeful that our colleagues will work with us to be responsive to Oregonians and solve this crisis.
Christine, I know there was some question about Monday's public session and people testifying sort of being handpicked so that we could get a certain point across. At least that's what the claim I have heard is. Is there going to be any difference in today's public session?
You know, I brought that issue up with the co-chair of the committee, that it appeared that he was bouncing around on the list for people that had registered to testify, and that was absolutely clear that that was what was happening. It is up to the co-chair of that committee how they operate, and I'm encouraging the co-chair of the committee to just play it straight. And if folks have signed up to testify, let them come on down and testify in order. This is a last minute thing for people. It wasn't even opened up for them to register to testify until today. So if they have prioritized this on a Friday before Labor Day weekend, God bless you people. We need you there. We need your voices, but it's a big deal. So they deserve to be heard and not overlooked because their perspective doesn't align with the majority party. And that was what we heard. We heard a lot of support for that measure in the public testimony, and a lot of that was due to how the chair ran that committee. But the testimony that was submitted online is overwhelmingly in opposition. And of course, there were people that came and were able to testify in opposition too.
And legislators are supposed to be working for us, Christine, right? So when you hear from people that they don't like this or they do like that, does that really make a difference? Does it influence the way legislators decide on things? Because a lot of people feel like they're just being ignored.
Here's the thing. What you just said is my biggest frustration. Politics cannot be self-interest. And I think that Oregonians themselves are the ones that won the day at the end of the long session. I mean, that was a crazy 15 billion, 12 billion, just huge numbers. I mean, we're talking about a budget shortfall that would require $5 million a month to get us from here to there. And the proposal was billions. So we're talking about folks that weren't listening to the public. And I believe that while Republicans were the voices of the majority of Oregonians in that issue, that failed because, regardless of party affiliation, people weren't comfortable with it. So there are times that Oregonians are heard, and I would say that we need to keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't feel jaded. Don't feel like you're never heard. You don't have a chance. You don't have a shot. This process is your process. The state capitol is your building. These representatives are your representatives. Do not give up. Regardless of party affiliation, please continue to engage in this process. They were your voices that made a difference at the end of the long session. And today, to have a more moderated proposal, your voices will be the one that draw the majority to the table and require that. If they choose to listen to their constituents, then they will be open to working on different creative solutions to get this done that don't just assume that we're going to double the payroll tax on every working Oregonian over Labor Day weekend. I can't even believe we're doing that. But that's what's proposed. And so I would say if you're an Oregonian that doesn't feel comfortable with that, don't be shy. Do not be discouraged. Participate. We need you in this process.
You know, Representative Cyrus Javadi of Tillamook just told Katu that he is leaning towards supporting the package, the governor's package, saying that the increase to the state's gas tax equals about $30 a year for most drivers, which he framed as far cheaper than losing a day's wages due to road closures. What are your thoughts on his kind of saying he's going to vote yes, and then also his claim there?
Yeah, it is. Cyrus is a fellow caucus member of mine who's come to a different final decision on this package. But I would say that when it comes to the proposal itself, he is dramatically underplaying the impact on Oregon families. The gas tax itself is not the only thing in this package. If we were just talking about a proposal that just kept the roads plowed so that people could make it to work, that would be a very different conversation. That is not this. As I mentioned, to be able to do that, to keep these workers on the job, that's only $5 million a month. But every penny of that gas tax raises $100 million a year. This gas tax is 6 cents on day one. On top of that, we're talking about an $84 increase in your registration fees. So every 2 years, when you go to register your car, they have it listed in the bill as $42 a year. And obviously, we all know that registration is a 2-year process. So that's on top of your current registration fees. It's if you drive an EV or a vehicle that is that is energy efficient, you're going to pay an additional $30 annually on your registration fees. You're going to pay an additional $139 on top of your existing title fees, and a doubling of the payroll tax. We are talking a massive tax increase, well above and beyond what it would take to keep our roads plowed, keep people being able to go to the office. This is the biggest transportation tax increase in Oregon's history. And so people might choose a different reason why they might choose to support it or oppose it. But in total, the representations by Representative Javity does not fully capture the impact on Oregon families. Our estimates are that this proposal, if you just look at the number of passenger cars on the road and the size of this annual increase, we're talking about $330 a year are our estimates for how this will affect Oregon families across our state. So this is a very big tax increase, and it is not simply the 6-cent gas tax.
House Republican Leader Christine Drazan, thank you so much for joining us this morning to talk about the special session. Good luck.
Thank you.